Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a happy Thursday. Welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. We have another amazing show for you as we do all the time, just real talking it. And for you guys today, we have an amazing guest, one of my favorites. I can also say that. And one of my friends, I've become to love this guy, what he brings, his awesomeness, his attitude, his personality, the whole nine. I don't say that about everybody because everybody don't deserve those praises. But this guy is an amazing guest. For all of you guys who are tuning in today, we want you to drop down in the comment section. You guys know the drill. Drop down in the comment section where you're tuning in from. Real Talk is a global show, so we want to know where you're tuning in from. Also, want you to put into the comment section your topics and questions, things that you want us to talk about, stuff that you want us to cover. And we're going to put the link in later on for you all who want to be a guest. You can apply to be a guest and we can schedule you and put you on our guest list, send that application out to you and get you on. But without any further delay, I want to ask my lovely co-host to come to the stage. I just get so excited when I bring her on because she has such the very pleasant of saying hello to everybody. And without any further ado, let's bring it to the stage. My guest, Charlie. What's up, Charlie? Oh man,
Hey
I just get excited.
everybody! Now,
There it
why
is.
you got me on my lap?
There it is. So
It's
this is
such a
what we do. This is what we do. This is why it's real talk because we have real fun. And yes, there's a genuinity of realness when we do this show. We just have real fun and we just kick it off like that. But I got a guy today that I'm excited about. And not only I'm excited about it, his wardrobe, because I'm loving what he got on. Because you know me, I'm a bow tie dude, and I gotta bring him to the show. My man, Mr. Phil
Hey,
Davis. What's up, Phil?
hey, what's going on?
Nothing much, man. How you feeling today, man?
Oh, it's almost the weekend. So it's like when we get to like Friday Eve, it's always you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like we're finally here and everything." But I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Charlene, both of you all for just having me here with you to hang out this morning as the start of the day. It's definitely a treat for me. So,
Yes, man. We are
love it,
happy to
love it.
have you, man. Another Growth Academy alum. You know, we doing it the video challenge alum as well. We're just continually growing with each other and learning more about each other on a personal level. Not only with business, we've learned the business part, but we're just learning each other. And I think there's so much great things that going on with community. Phil, give us a little bit about you to kick this off, man, because we're gonna be talking about we know that you this HR kind of I don't know guru. I love using the term guru because when people get good at stuff, what other term can you use, right? I know you're this HR guru, but we're going to be
Mhm.
talking a little bit about that. But just let people know a little bit about you and what you're bringing to the table today, man.
yeah, definitely. So, it's like where to begin, right? So I'll kind of just start out from the beginning. And so like most people who've worked in HR, I too kind of fell into the craft. Went to school for music and in voice, was an opera singer. Kind of learned the classical training, and then had this also business management background in school. And so at the time, I was like, you know what, I want to try to like marry the two together because music and business can really correlate. And so for all those arts and crafts and performing arts people out there, on LinkedIn, those folks listening, like you too can truly get into a business profession. I'm prime example of that. Like I just got into HR, just I want to say out of luck, but really out of networking with the right people and connecting early on. Started out just doing all sorts of different HR stuff, like your payroll, your admin, onboarding, recruitment, stuff like that. And I felt really to in this niche of recruitment because I loved being able to be that matchmaker or that kind of wedding officiant, being able to like match talent, top talent with businesses, right? So I've been doing that for about 10 years. The pandemic hit, my professional career and personal life a little hard, like most people. Last role was eliminated. Said, all right, what can I do to make a difference for some folks out in my LinkedIn network? Was really kind of an acting career strategist for a little while, started helping out some job seekers, with some basic things like resume review, and became so busy. I said, man, I could really try to make a business out of this because I loved kind of that, like you, Carl, like you, Charlene, that kind of coaching aspect of really being a cheerleader, really being an advocate for people. And so literally as of 3 weeks ago to date, I founded FulPhillment Solutions, which is a hybrid job seeking coaching company, but also a talent acquisition consultancy firm to really kind of help to bridge the gap that we're all seeing right now, right? Between job seekers trying to find roles, but then also businesses trying to attract top talent. So that's me in a nutshell, for to give you kind of the 2 minute spiel, if you will. So
Cool, cool, cool. I'm loving that, man, because we're talking about we're talking about this HR, and I don't know, we can't get away from it. And
no.
good thing or bad thing, we've got this pandemic going on, and it's sort of rolling with the highs and the lows. Sometimes it looks as if we got it licked to a certain extent, and then we think it's a common thing, and then the next it explodes with this and then the variants and things that are changing and all this around. So I'm just understanding now that it's going to be here. We're not going to be able to push it out, so we're going to have to work around it. And we're working in HR. I'm seeing that all of these. I know I'm in New Jersey, so there are thousands of help wanted hired signs in all places, everywhere. Why
Mhm.
aren't people going to these jobs? Why aren't people filling out these jobs? I mean, it ain't the part about the what it was that the unemployment and all of that, because like I think that stuff ended. I was seeing on the news that stuff ended like maybe a couple of weeks ago with with the pandemic portion. But why aren't people trying to go to these jobs now that we now got a lot of hiring?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is if you just really think about just the big picture, right? We're still in this pandemic, right? This pandemic is not going away anytime soon, and I think between that, just you've got the Delta variant out there, you've got just a lot of I'll just say you've got a lot of virus still out there. It's really hard to see. It's hard to like get into these retail stores, these restaurants, these kind of like on-site, like in-person opportunities, because yeah, people don't want to get sick. They don't want to pass it on to other people and stuff like that. So I think there's this hesitation in that regard, that we're still going through this pandemic. I think the second is also kind of the uncertainty factor, right? We all, I think, thought, hey, this was going to go away, this year. It's not. It's still
Yeah.
going to take some time, right? So I think there's this high demand for these in-person roles from these companies. Like, hey, we need people to work here, and it's especially affected a lot of these small mid-sized businesses out there. And it's been unfortunate because a lot of them have had to make business decisions. They've had to shut down. They've had to just kind of like, I'll say, they had to survive in ways that none of us thought possible. And really kudos, I would say kudos to those businesses out there who have made strides and made efforts to survive and to do creative, finding creative ways to, attract talent and to really bring people. And then for those people too, who, those healthcare workers, those people out there who are going in person, right, into their jobs, whatever they're doing, to either care for people, to make a difference. Kudos to those people. And really just to people all around, because we've all had to adapt in our own way to get through this pandemic. So it's not just a recruitment, HR like job placement issue. It's a societal issue where we're all having to adapt together, just as a community. So
Great. That's good stuff. When you talk, excuse me, I don't know, I got tickled in my throat this morning. When you when you're talking about these jobs and you're talking about, it seems to be an abundance, at least from my standpoint of where I'm looking at. Not maybe the jobs that people were really running after before the pandemic, but the jobs that are really a necessity to us. I'm even finding and going into stores and grocery stores and how They got the goods there, but a lot of times the stuff is still sitting, waiting on pallets to be put on, shelves. And I was just in Walmart this weekend, and they got pallets all over the place, but nobody is putting, stuff on the shelves. Nobody is putting food there or unpacking it. And I asked a couple of people in the line that I was the cashiers. I was like, "Why you guys got all of this stuff and there's nobody putting it?" They was like, "We can't find anybody to come and work." So with
Right.
that, how important is that? How can folks pivot then from that one industry that they're in and maybe they haven't been working in to the next one kind of smoothly without the disruption of, I didn't really know how to do that, but this is available now. How can I pivot to that?
Yeah, I get this question all the time, and it's not the the inspirational answer I can give folks out here in the community is it's not that it's impossible. It's I am possible or I'm possible. It's really separating the one word impossible and saying I am possible. Um,
Mm.
Pivoting. I mean, again, not to toot my own horn, but I am a huge prime example of that. Like I studied music in college. I was a voice major, right? Not like had nothing to do with HR recruiting, like nothing to do with it. And during the time that I got out of school, from doing music, I knew I was like, man, I am not going to be the next Pavarotti. I'm not going to be the next, Juan Diego Flores. I knew I wasn't going to do that. So I had to
Mhm.
think of a way back out of school to pivot and be like, all right, well, music has to do with engaging audiences. It has to do with performance, but it also has to do with not showcasing my talents out on the stage, but really conveying to the audience emotion and feeling. And so I thought of ways to be like, all right, how can I use that in business? And so when I landed into HR, it kind of made sense. I'm like, okay, well, it's not about me, it's about helping other people and really making sure that those employees, those job seekers, those leaders are successful in their role. And so helping them to like be successful and then going into that recruitment stage. So a lot of pivoting, I feel, is a lot of that kind of finding that inner clarity of yourself. Um, a lot of other coaches that I know in my network and others will agree, you really need to find that clarity first. And what I mean by that clarity is really looking into yourself and finding those unique attributes that you have because everybody has talent. That's the thing. When people start getting to like, the realizations of, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, you know, I don't feel like I could do it. And they get into that kind of mindset that's more negative and more like, ah, man, I'm not there. I can't do it. It's like you can, and you have the talent, you have the uniqueness. So it's really finding out what things you've done, whether like it's in your previous positions or whether it's like, hey, in your life, what are those talents and those key strengths? And I always like to call it uniqueness. What makes you unique as a person that you can really go into that next industry with and really showcase that on your resume, on your LinkedIn and stuff there. I always tell people, ask for help, seek guidance. That's one of the reasons why I founded Fulfillment was I wanted to be a soundboard for job seekers to say, hey, you can come to us, let's help you find some of that clarity, and if we can't do it, we'll get you over to somebody else who may be a better fit for you, right? But it's all about that and seeking that help and asking for it, because once you have that clarity, then you're really able to better position yourself, on that resume, on that LinkedIn, on that portfolio, wherever you're showcasing your uniqueness out to those target companies that you're looking for or those industries you want to get into. So
Good stuff.
And
Good stuff.
and with all of that, how do you, as especially as a new entrepreneur, what were the struggles, or what are still the struggles that you are finding yourself working yourself through, and actually even looking for help too, if that's something.
oh yeah, the struggles are real. I mean, it's it is. I knew going into this business, I knew it was not going to be easy, right? I mean, it's the struggles of, I think, the transitional period, right? I mean, when you get into a new job, right, regardless of whether it's something you've done for, you know, a year or 25, 30 years, there's always
Mhm.
going to be an adjustment period, of getting into something new. Being an entrepreneur going from corporate, it's been the biggest adjustment of my life. I kind of prepared for it, but I didn't think it was going to be this much of an adjustment. But it is. It truly is. And every day is a new challenge. But I think with challenge comes growth and comes development. Like I have grown so much just in the past like year and a half professionally, and I think everybody can say that about themselves, than I've ever been. And I think a lot of that has really instilled within, the business model that I have, just focused around really helping other people. Um, but transition has been a challenge for sure. But then also just like, yeah, I'm new. I'm not the business is not, completely out there yet. So it's really just getting the awareness out there more to be like, hey, we're really here to help and support you along your path, regardless of where you are in your career, in your business, in life. Like we're here every step of the way. And I think that's what makes us unique as a business entity, right? We're here to help you from if you need a resume review, if you need just some confidence boosting, if you need some clarity, or if you just in your business, if you need some help with your talent acquisition strategy, right? We're here along the way, and it's just getting some of that awareness out there more in the community that I've built, but then also to um, other platforms and outlets as well. So.
Now, before we hit the next question, I definitely want people to know how to reach you because you're giving them so much amazing strategies on how they themselves can propel to the next level. So let the people know, how can they connect with you? How can they work with you? Especially, how can they work with you? And if there's anything new that you're putting together, how do you want us to support you on that?
Yeah, totally. So our website. So of course, the best way to reach me directly is through LinkedIn right now. So just go to my profile, Phillip Davis, PHR. Our website is FulPhillment, spelled in my name, FulPhillment.com. We also do have a hashtag on LinkedIn, hashtag fulfillment. We do have an Instagram page, fulfillment at Fulfillment Solutions as well. We just started that here a little earlier in the month. So I mean, we're all over. If you see the name Fulfillment, you'll know where to find us. One of the biggest things that we're going to be working on in probably by the end of the year is we are going to get an online course up. So we're starting earlier than anticipated. So just kind of a high level, just probably 20-30 minute presentation just about trying to
Mhm.
find clarity and confidence along your job seeking journey, maybe get some resume kind of high level tips and tricks in there, and really more like some interview nuggets as well. So we're going to actually do an online course for some job seekers to purchase at a discounted rate when we do launch it. So that'll be something we're doing by the end of the year. And then as we start getting into 2022, we may do some like group coaching sessions and things like that for job seekers and things. And really the goal is once we get some business clients in play as well, really getting to then kind of match them with some of the job seekers that we're helping out as well. So just a lot of different things going on. We're taking it one step at a time, but we're proud of what we're doing, and we're taking it a day at a time. So.
And you're
Yeah.
definitely making strides because I love that you use the term clarity. I think that might be the term of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people have really been focusing on clarity and making sure that whatever they're doing it with purpose and they're doing it with intention. So, great kudos on that.
Exactly. Yeah, and you do hear it a lot, but you're so right, because clarity for everybody is different. And I really like to really chime in on, clarity and uniqueness, because I really think both of those, clarity does equal uniqueness, because I think, the clarity that you have, Carl, or you have, Charlene, or that I have, or that the community has out here is going to be so different. And because of those differences that we all have, that's what makes us unique. And so the biggest model we have, especially on with job seekers, is helping them really showcase that uniqueness out on their resume, out on their LinkedIn, wherever they want to be seen, because that's what's going to get them noticed And it's easier for them to share stories behind their uniqueness and their talents and stuff. So totally, 100%.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I really learned. Not necessarily learn. You have to learn for yourself. I think we're being the entrepreneurs and coming to our own as business as starting businesses and being to some point in time we're going to be employers our own selves, and we're looking at their dynamic. And I think a lot of times we have clarity and we have strategy to someone else's, like we've worked on that, we've honed those in, versus where we've worked at, where we've been employed at, the actual jobs and occupations that we've had. We've got clarity in those. And I think that I know for my own self, just speaking for myself, and I'm sure a lot of people that's listening understand as well, we had to get that clarity for ourselves in
Yeah.
what we're trying to produce now as being the producer, and and not not working for someone else. And I think that has been what a lot of people I've seen. Actually, I've seen it 50-50. I've seen a lot of people scrambling, trying to really figure that out. And then
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of people like getting that together and seeing them grow with that. And when you have that and you got clients that come to you, how do you kind of like what some of the struggles or even myths, if I should say, do your clients come to you with, and that you have to help them break through? Because I know if I'm coming to you, just say I'm pivoting, right? Which I
Yeah.
have. I mean, I'm doing like 4 different things now that I was not doing before the pandemic. So pivoting, I'm tired of using that word. I
No,
tell people now I'm just doing something different.
yeah.
Because everybody and their mama is pivoting right now. I don't mean that as a bad thing, but I'm just saying we're using that term, and I hate using terms and catching on to them, but it's exactly what it is. What are some
Hmm.
of the struggles that people say, okay, Phil, I'm here with you. I'm in fulfillment. I like that play off words as well. I want to tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And like,
thank you.
I'm
Yeah.
struggling, man. I'm struggling. How you gonna help me break through, man? How you gonna help me get this job? I was making 15 an hour now, and then I'm looking like pandemic. I need 20 an hour. What are some
Hmm.
of the things that you not all of your stuff, because I want people to come to
Yeah.
your place, but give me some of those struggles that people come to you with.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is, I think that I think the common theme is twofold. I think the first is we talked about this before. I think a lot of it is the getting noticed factor, where it's like, folks are applying. They're not getting, calls. They're not getting the interviews, right? There's still a lot of talent out there looking for jobs. I mean, a lot of people are saying, it is a candidate driven market. Absolutely. It's definitely, businesses need people. It's crazy out there. There are so many different job opportunities out there. But at the same time, there are a lot of job seekers still out there, and there are a lot of job seekers who need to work like now. They really need to get into a position. And so with that oversaturation of talent, it becomes very challenging, in the market to really get seen and noticed. So a lot of those struggles I get every day, from folks. They aren't getting the interviews that they want, or they are getting interviews, but they're not getting enough interviews. And so it's a lot of those struggles. And also on the interviewing, let's say they do get interviews. A lot of them have come to us and said, hey, we're getting interviews, but we're not getting offers, or we're not hearing back in time, and it's taking months. You hear the ghosting, you hear the lack of communication, all this stuff that, it's a pet peeve of mine too. It's just like, no, like, we need to communicate. We need to make this happen, and really be in touch and collaborate throughout the entire recruiting process. And so one of the things that we really focus on with, our clients, whether it be job seekers and companies, or companies as well, is focusing on their unique brand and their unique, selling proposition, if you want to talk about marketing terminology, but also finding better ways to communicate with other people. Instead of it being a transactional process, we really focus on how can we make this more transformational for the job seeker, but how can we also make this transformational for the business? Because the moment that things are perceived as a business transaction, whether it's through a job seeker, like not hearing anything from a company, or a company like, not hearing anything from the job seeker, because it also happens that way too, where job seekers, may not communicate where they are. It's just then all is gone, all is lost. It's like we need to work together, we need to collaborate, which is why job seekers out there who are fortunate to receive multiple offers, they're going to more than likely work with a company who made them feel good about their experience throughout the whole process, right? It could be a number of different factors, but at least for me, in my opinion, I mean, that's, if I had multiple job offers, I would probably work with the company that gave me the best recruiting experience and be like, yeah, they saw me, they treated me right, like I'm gonna make this happen. And so we work with our clients to transform their process, or to transform their job search strategy, so that they're seen and noticed and heard, and that they feel good about themselves. So,
And I wanted to tap into a little bit of what you said about, the employees feeling good about themselves when they start to work in these companies, because that's also a little of what Carl speaks on a lot, is the vulnerabilities of these leaders to really allow their employees to be themselves, tap into their authenticity without feeling discouraged or shunned or anything like that. So, especially with this pandemic and all the struggles that companies are having, how can they still allow the job seekers to feel wanted, feel a part of those organizations, and those organizations actually start to change so they can start to be more inclusive? Because even rather than do the performative, how can they truly allow people to really be themselves, as especially as coming to them as job seekers who have been out of work for almost a year, if not more?
yeah, I'm going to say another word that's out there a lot as well, and it's empathy, right? You see it, you see it everywhere, but it's so true. I think that it always starts at the top with leadership, right? If your leaders at, I don't care if you're a one person company, like I am, like we are. I don't care if you're 100,000 employee based company. Empathy starts at the top. It starts with good leaders in the organization. If those leaders show empathy to those individual workers, the actual people who dedicate their days and their times to operate that business. We're not talking about like the thought strategic leaders. We're talking about the actual worker bees, the ones that are keeping the business running, right? Those are really the people that you truly have to show empathy to if you are a leader in an organization. I don't care what kind of job that person's doing, they're contributing to your organization. And you have to show that empathy to that person every single day. And that empathy could be different for people. It could be, a raise in salary. It could be just a simple thank you. It could be a recognition program. I'm really big on recognizing people for hard work, but also rewarding it. Whether it, like I said before, whether it be, merit increases for good work, bonuses, just incentive programs that are unique to that company that employees like, extra PTO, stuff like that, that's really going to make people feel good. But even just on the people side of it, giving somebody thanks and just, it makes somebody's day. You have to, especially now, and even too, like, people probably, the way I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this transparently, but even like getting really like personal with those people in terms of like, how are they doing? So not so much like, hey, how's your performance, and doing that micromanaging, but how are you feeling, right? How are you, Carl, how are you, Charlene, how are you doing? And really, again, showing that care to those people, because retention's also a big thing now. Recruitment and finding people is one topic, but we go into the retention element of it. I mean, that's really where it's at, because if you're not treating people the way they need to be treated, I mean, they're going to find other companies that are going to do that for them. So, right?
Exactly.
And it is something that I really just took I think we've all been through that with corporations or companies that we worked for prior to.
Of course.
The pandemic, and of course now on this scale of where we are as a society, a world. Actually, I can just stop with that. Just saying as we are as a world, because this is worldly affecting everything and everybody. So no one has been exempt to what has been going on with this
Hmm.
pandemic, and no one has not suffered in some kind of way with it. So looking at that, I know companies have, because I've just taken a drive just recently to different areas that were bustling and hustling prior to the pandemic. But now stores have closed within those, like the strip malls now, and Jersey has a lot of them. Strip
Mhm.
malls now, where it used to be 10, 12 stores in these malls and food places and little burger shops and this kind of thing. I'm finding like the Namer brand one that has been more established. Is probably one or two of them still left in these malls. So I'm asking the question: are companies really okay with that? Because now they're doing with it, and Charlene brought up a great point there, which I do kind of highlight this culture. But I've been talking about culture. I've been
Hmm.
working in a corporation, in some corporation function ever since I got out the military, since 21 years old. And I've been talking about culture and how people have been treated. I've been talking about it so much from the standpoint of me being African American male and being passed over, but that has just been one dynamic of which I've experienced. I've experienced that as me, as who I am and who I just described, but I've also experienced that and I've seen it with others who leaders just really wasn't caring. They
Yep.
was not caring. And now everybody's on this bandwagon, and people are not dumb. Now people are looking for the
Hmm.
authenticity besides that empathy, because now they put empathy in the same boat as diversity.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm checking the box. Okay. Oh, we empathetic. Oh my God, we want you here. So the 15 hour, we're gonna bump it to 17. We want to put all these things in play. And this is just to kind of like, sort of like I call it the rat trap. Putting a little cheese on there, letting the mouse smell it, and then when you pull it out, that trap's still there. You ain't move that trap. So it's still there. So our company's really okay going beyond this pandemic, do you think?
Well, and to kind of my vision of that, you say the rat cheese and stuff, I say the band-aid. Like a lot of times it's just like band-aid solution, right? It's just like
Mhm.
it's a solution to help for the short term. Like what's the long-term goal? Like how can we work long term together on stuff, right?
Mhm.
Our company's okay, beyond the pandemic. I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, I think the organizations that are willing to adapt to all of the different changes that we've seen in the past. I'll say it now, 2 years. We're close to 2 years now. The ones
Mhm.
who are willing to adapt and change, um, I believe are going to be fine. I think the ones that haven't made a lot of strides to change and they've said, "Oh well, we've done these things for years. It's been successful for us," and if they think more about the business than they do the people, I think those companies might have some pain for a little bit because I think a lot of these businesses, we talk about the empathy, the authenticity, the diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, things like that. That's really the element around people. And if your people are successful at your company, your business is going to be successful. I mean, it's straightforward. It all comes down to people. And if your people are good and they're great and they're performing well and they're feeling great, business will be fine. The business will be great. But if the moment you start thinking just about the business and not the people, I think you're going to have a lot of challenges ahead. So I'd say those businesses who are really making strides and efforts, but not just talking about it, like actually acting, because it's one thing to say, talk is cheap. We know that. You
Yeah.
act upon what you're doing, and you really have that passion to act upon it and really focus on the business and people in that regard. I think they'll be fine. I do. So
Mm, that's good stuff, because
it's
you you
important.
you you
It
say
is.
the most important part of that equation is the acting upon. And like I said before, that the people are not dumb or even naive. I think people
Yeah,
have, since the pandemic, become more interpersonal understanding.
absolutely.
They prioritize things that they put up with for so many years.
Mhm.
They're focused on changing the dynamic of which they've been in. I mean, I could go on and on with some of the things that I've talked to different ones about. the dynamic on that, and that's why I really came up with the questions. Are companies okay? Because
Yeah.
I'm seeing companies that are really truly suffering. People are not going back to those dynamics of which they came from.
Correct.
And not
Mhm.
only that, the ones that are kind of band-aiding this that you had said with the band-aid of this of offering the largest sign-in bonuses and all this kind of thing. I think I got a couple of companies. I even seen the post office yesterday was looking for people in North and South Jersey, and they was doing like $2,500 sign-in bonuses. And I'm like
Mm.
that is fine. Like, and you're going to get some people with those traps.
Sure.
You just are, because people have been struggling. You're going to get them, but you bring up a very good point that I want to dive into. How do you think they're putting this into play for the longevity? Because I see a lot of fixes, even in some of this. Is a Wawa. I don't know if you guys know about that. They like a 7-Eleven in Jersey.
Mhm.
I
Like they
know.
had a they had a $500 sign-in bonus for you to start. Then they had like a $400 at one point if you got the shot bonus, if you got vaccinated.
Mhm.
So all in all, when you hire with them, I think it was like it came up to like 1,400 what they made as a package. Now that's
Mm.
fine and dandy for when I start the job.
Right.
Okay. So after I've gotten all that, and that's been my first little fat check, and I'm happy. What comes into play after that? Because I go into these Wawas for lunch sometime, man. It's like a zoo. And these
Mhm.
people are just there, and I don't see the accommodations. They're working short staff. You got one person doing 6 jobs. Service
Mhm.
is really not up to par. And I asked how the companies are right. Do you actually think they're putting in long-term plays, or do you actually think they're trying to just build this force so we can try to get to some sort of normalcy?
Yeah,
Mm.
I think that, and that's a really good question. I think there are companies out there that that are just trying to get through short term, and I think because there's so much uncertainty that they're not really thinking long term because they don't know what's going to happen, the next week, the next month. They don't know. So there's this big uncertainty that's still out there that I think doesn't have them really thinking that long term like approach, if you will. And Robert, yeah, Robert's comment is really kind of what I'm going into here next. The employee relations are a two-way street. For years,
Yeah.
orgs have treated them exactly one way relationships in as far as just like the business and not the people. So
Mm.
when we talk about the short term, I think a lot of, again, these orgs are just trying to put the band-aids on, but they're still in the mindset of, business. Like, how can we keep the business survivable? Which I get to a point, but again, we go into the long term. Those orgs that are really, again, acting upon people, if they can continue to do that long term with what works for those employees and those people at that company, um, I think that's what's going to keep them going. And flexibility. We haven't really talked a lot about like flexibility yet, just with like the hybrid work models and like remote and on-site and things like that. But the same thing, Carl, you said too, and Charlene also, that hey, employees and people have really started to think and to self-assess what they want in their future
Yeah.
now and even long term, right? They want to be closer to family. They want to have more flexibility. They want to have more time, more work-life balance. And Carl, you said earlier, you got these employees that are working 50, 60, 70 hours, working 6 different jobs. That's a workforce strategy challenge, I believe. And so it's going in and saying, well, do we really need more people to try to help offset the workload on folks? Because if you're not getting the customer service that you need on a call, or you're not getting the product or service that you need in time, or something based on what you're trying to get, it's a workforce issue, and you've got to, as a company, you have to look into that, and try to, again, I'll say it, not overwork people, because it's just they're going to get burnt out, and that's
And I've
just
seen
it's another avenue for them to get out and to find something else. So
And especially where they're not even contemplating different ways to work. It's just really they're just repackaging old ideas and then trying to sell it to, like, oh, look at something new we came up with. Like, no, like we did this crap 3 years ago and it didn't work
yeah,
then.
yeah.
So what really, especially seeing in New York, a lot of situations where people are telling you absolutely no, you can't do remote work. Yet for almost 2 years, we've been working remotely. So it's almost as though they refuse. Some of them are refusing to allow clients to have that hybrid, to have that option of clients,
Right.
employees, to have that option where they can actually say, yes, to improve my life, I can do 3 days in the office and then 2 at work at home. And then I can still have that flexibility for my kids. So I don't have to sit there and ask for permission to be home if my child is sick or anything like that. So it's almost like they're just starting to close their minds to what is a possibility because they were forced into the hybrid situation, and they were forced to pretend that they liked it. So now that they're saying, oh, we can get shots and go in the office now, okay, hybrid is done, no, we're not even going to talk about it. It's like, how do you see, especially as a recruiter and for HR, how can they really make that okay with employees?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, I think a lot of it, and Robert had a comment earlier about, Chick-fil-A and kind of being a two-way street. I mean, a lot of it truly, I think, yeah, they're right there. Great customer service. They treat people well, who in turn treat customers well. And
Mhm.
and same with employees, right? I mean, it has to be a two-way street. And I think a lot of it too, there are some employees who work better at home. There are people who work better in an office. There are people who work better in a hybrid where, hey, I'll go in the office a couple times a week and then I'll work from home, three times a week or something to be with family. So I think a lot of it is again as much I don't say as much work, but as much as it probably needs to happen, it needs to really be on like a case by case basis. This is just my opinion. I think a lot of it has to be based on the individual and what's going to make sense for both the business and the employee, right? So if the employee has reasonable accommodation to work from home or something, if they can perform the job well at home and there's trust there, then sure, they should be able to do that. I think a lot of it's just coming down to the individual and what's going to work for them, but then also giving that, maintaining that trust in that they're going to be doing their jobs well as well. So it's a two-way street, just like Robert said. I think
And I
so. It's
want to
it's
touch on
bringing.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to touch on that too, because I got a question that I put in there where you talk about that, and I'm going to be and play the role of I won't even say devil advocate, but just someone that just really have been compromised a lot in corporations by their traditional attitude of how they treat employees. And I look at the fact of that, and Rob bring up a good point. I was a GM for Chick-fil-A for 8 years. I GM 3 stores. It's primarily the process of that is a dynamic in teaching that to employees from because a lot of people would tell me, oh, I do McDonald's, I do these other Wendy's or what have you. I have never been able to get a crop of employees that act like Chick-fil-A employees act in their service arena. And I say, well, some of the dynamic is because Chick-fil-A does not pay more. And I'll just tell you a little insight. So they do not pay more than the McDonald's or the Wendy's. A lot of those kids just come there get these jobs out of high school, and they put 6, 7 years in. I've worked with kids that came in as a 14-year-old learning fries, and he came back after he graduated college and went into the training and leadership program. So we talking about someone that spent 7 years as a young lad from 14 to 21 in one company. So there has to be something there that's a building block that they put in place that has allowed that growth and that maturity from a 14-year-old to a 21-year-old, and has also enhanced them. Oh, where's my waffle fries? All right, Rob, I got you. That some of them has enhanced them. That has given them that. Now, my question that I asked, um, should it continue to be a two-way street thought process by the job seekers? Because for so many years it has not been. And
Right.
I think that's to the fed upness of what the job seekers are now. Charlene brings in a phenomenal point. that they're not. Now, a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people did not like the point of getting people to work from home. They did
Yeah.
not like it. It was a lot of it, and they was forced to the fact because they couldn't maintain that safety issue of having people in this pandemic working in that. So, with that being the case, people are tired of the two-way street, and they've been the only one driving on the road. Because corporations haven't been on the highway. They've been on the highway of it's my highway. I got the
Right.
stoplights, and you just drive on it. So with that
Not
being
only is it their
said,
highway, they're not
yeah,
maintaining the highway. They don't even know what the
yeah, they
highway
ain't got
goes. They don't,
infrastructure. It got bumps in the road. It need to be
Correct.
retard. You know, they got
but yet
old
they're gonna tell you
limits.
how to drive on the highway. It's a mess. It's a
Yeah.
mess.
So with that, I know I'm running on with that because I just
No,
felt
you,
some kind of way
no,
with
you,
that.
yeah,
Because the two-way street is what always been put to me, and I think I take that interpersonally, not to
yeah,
those on that, but everybody, that's a two-way street. You do your part, I do. Well, man, I didn't work for you 9 years at one spot, 7 years from one spot, and you can see now I'm not there. I'm working here, and
Mm-hmm.
hmm
these people have not kept their end of the bargain. And I've stayed late. I've worked long. I've missed games, my kids' basketball. I missed a whole lot of things. And for you to continue to come at me with this two-way street process, and I haven't seen no reciprocity, how can job
hmm
seekers now avoid that?
Mm-hmm.
Now that they are empowered, and they are empowered companies.
They, yep,
If you're listening, pay attention.
absolutely,
Get your notebook.
absolutely, absolutely, they are. And again, we go back to the, talk is cheap. I mean, it is. It's difficult to think that it. I saw this from Campbell. It is difficult to think that it would ever be. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. And Robert had a comment coming too. Yeah, right after. Companies
Exactly.
experience a loss. They're basically answering the question, which is amazing. This is why we
Yeah,
love
yeah,
our
yeah.
community.
Yeah, I love
Companies
Yes.
this
experience a
community. I love
loss of
this
control.
community.
Right. However, we've known for years that hybrid workers are more productive. Teach courses on this and have research prove it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, companies are not. They're not as much control as they think they are. They still think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we go back to the change again, right? The ones that have realized, oh crap, we aren't in control, and they're making the changes
Yeah.
to be again people focused and employee
Yeah.
focused. Awesome. But the ones that are like, oh no, we're still in control, like we got this and we're good. And the ones that, like you said, the analogy of the road, like they're not maintaining it, they're not smoothing it out. I mean, heck,
Mm-hmm.
I live on a busy intersection up here in Duluth in Atlanta. And this road, I'll tell you, so we go work out and stuff like that. We have to take this main drag highway to work out a few times a week. A lot of bumps, a lot of dips. And like you get that big pothole in the road and you
Yeah.
always have to like swerve around it because you're like, oh crap, there's that pothole again. You could say, oh man, there's that manager I gotta get around instead, you know what I mean? Get
Yes.
around instead of my job
Yes.
or whatever. It's like, no, it's like company, you gotta flatten out that road so that employee can go, on it and be successful. So the analogy there is true. There are companies they're not maintaining. They're not maintaining training for their leaders. You still got leaders out there that are
Oh yeah.
micromanaging their people. They're still wanting to say, "Hey, what's going on?" And there's that, lack of trust, or there's that like, you know, not enough trust. And so when you start thinking about micromanaging, like they try to come in and fix the road as a micromanager, not as a, hey, how can I help you? How can I serve you? So that I'm paving the way, if you will, pave the way to your success. So exactly. Yeah.
Because we're coming up on our hour,
No, we're
and
not.
as
Are we
oh,
really? Oh
I
my
know, right?
gosh,
Yeah,
no.
so we've been getting it in because like this has been a great episode.
It's been great.
It really
And
has.
I do want you to come back because I'm
Oh
always the repeat
God,
person.
this
Yes,
is the part. I'm gonna
but
just give
it's
Charlene her middle
Yeah.
name is just gonna be part two.
yes, but my before we go, I want people to know, please connect with Phillip here
Yeah,
on LinkedIn, where you can really dig deep into where he can help you, how he can help you, and let him help you. Because if you are struggling to really find that position that you love, let Phillip get you where you need to be. He is amazing at allowing you, he's the matchmaker of allowing you to see the perfect place and the position that will fit for you, where you can thrive, rather than you sitting here and you're going through the motions and you're like, when can I leave? You don't want to do that. So talk to Phillip. let Phillip help you. Connect with him on LinkedIn. I wanted to ask the final question. I wanted it to be a little fun question.
I love it.
If anybody remembered, the boss, the undercover boss show. Do you
Yes.
think we need to bring that into a real life situation? Because I feel like not enough real companies are actually participating in something like that. Do you think that's something that companies should really get into, to have something where an undercover boss, you have the CEO, you have the owner come down to the working floor,
Don't ask
come
me that, because
down
you know
and
my answer.
have that conversation?
Yeah, I used to watch the show, and
Yes.
I love, and I see repeats and stuff all the time. I personally love watching it because it gives that, again, it gives that CEO, that top leader, like a real, like, hands-on experience in, hey, like, this is what's going on in our business. This is what's working. This isn't what's working. That kind of stuff. I think so. I think, leaders, they need to have an awareness of what is going on throughout the entire organization, not just at the top. They need to understand what their workers are doing and how they are keeping their businesses in business.
Mm,
So I would say absolutely. I would say yes. They need to care more. Robert said they don't care. They need to care
Yeah.
more. They need to
right.
care more all around. Most importantly, about the people that are keeping the business running. They do.
And they're
Because I
not caring
remember,
because the accountability is not there. I mean, we can go a little further into that as well. The accountability is not there because we go
Mhm.
to the photo. These people aren't leaders. They're either micromanaging, they're either passing the buck, they're not coming in. And I know we've all worked in places where management comes up with this totally ludicrous plan on how
Hmm.
you should do stuff downstairs. And downstairs, I mean, in the workers that actually implement this action. And we
Hmm.
always have this dichotomy of like, dude, you're sitting in the office. You have no idea what it takes to come down here and do this, but yet
Hmm.
you send this silliness as instructions for us to do the job like this. And it is something that I think it should be, if they don't
Hmm.
want me to run for any office, I think it should be part of your application to have a business. I
mm,
think that should be somewhere in there, written in there, not so much as a rudimentary as what we're talking about it, but something that an action plan should be where higher ups should spend some time, if not get on the lines, if not actually do the work, drive the trucks, whatever your business may be. But they need
100%.
to sit some time in there out of the boardroom into those places where things are in the room where it happens, where things are going
mhm.
on, where people
Yep.
are implementing those things that you set down. And then you see how that works. Because I sit
Hmm.
right there and be
Because
right on their neck.
Hmm.
because and I bring up undercover boss because I had a similar situation where, I mean, they weren't undercover, of course, but in one of the episodes there was a CEO sitting there working with an employee, learning how to do a process, and it was so convoluted. He kept saying, well, damn, where did this come from? And she said, oh, the higher ups. Technically it was him. He sent that process down for them to do because he felt this would be so innovative. And then when
Hmm.
he sat there and had to do the work, he was like, oh, wait a minute, this is crazy. So
Dumb.
he had to apologize to the woman and revamp what he did. So in a similar in a similar stance, I had a VP with me, and he was new, but he didn't send a process to us. But he sat down with me. I walked him through a process that we were doing, and he was like, "Wow, this is a lot." And I was like, "Yeah, it is." I was like, "We could do better at it. I'm just trying to figure it out." But it's convoluted because of the old technology. They're passing on from higher up. They're passing on these new um, lofty goals of where they want to be, but they're not addressing the fact that they had old technology kind of being that block for them. And it was just, they were allowing old guards to kind of allow the old technology to stay because they just didn't want to change. So it's a really about, as you say, learning to care, because if it's your business, you should, I tell people all the time, you should
Hmm.
love your business more than me. You should love your business to the point that if I'm coming in, if you hire me to help you do something, you want to make sure that whatever I'm implementing for you is actually allowing your business that you love to thrive. but you should not be so disconnected that you're saying yes and what, let's just do it, let's do, and you're not even paying attention. Is this going to really benefit my business? Are the people in my business going to like it or adjust, or can they handle it? How are my clients going to handle this? How is this affecting them? And then start monitoring the changes that we are implementing. And I think that's where we kind of lose track, especially large organizations. They're just so busy either paying attention to the money because they got to worry about the shareholders, and then they're forgetting about some of the stakeholders, which are employees, and then the employees are getting disgruntled. So when like you said, the people who do the work, they're like, you know what, bump it, I'm out. So now you have nobody to push out the work so you can get the money. It's like it's all a domino effect. And they're not caring to the point that they are not paying attention to dig deep enough to say, I have to actually stay connected to the people doing, I guess, the grunt work, as you might want to say. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you so much, Phil, for giving us an amazing show.
It's been powerful and
bow tie. You came strong with the bow tie, and we knew you were going to give us. You was going to give us your all.
It's out there, man. Orange too, my favorite color too, homie.
Well, and I appreciate you both for because again, for giving us a space, or for really giving me a space to really speak deep about all of this. Because really, if it wasn't for you, you both and Robert Berry last week, I was on Robert's show as well. I thank him because he's watching, just for really giving me a space to really speak my mind, and because all of this stuff, I mean, there are challenges. We're all seeing all these challenges now, and will there still be challenges in the future? Absolutely. But the more we can really speak and act, we'll say again on some of these, and be a soundboard to our communities, and work together on this kind of stuff, it's transformational. So I appreciate you both truly for having me here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Have you, man. Give a shout out to Rob. We appreciate him coming by. Rob he said, I want to put this back up there and let him know that he teaches courses as well. We don't have him on the show. He has not filled out application, but we still love you anyway, Rob. But he teaches courses.
I think I sent it to him, but he's seeing here. He's seeing here.
That's how important that we are. Some people have pushed us off to the side, like Nicki Minaj and the vaccine shot.
Oh, Lord.
Other than that,
here we go. I thought I forgot to introduce you, Phil, to Shawn Salty Watkins. Carl Shawn Salty Watkins.
That's my moniker on some things, man. But Phil, all jokes aside, man, it's been an honor and a privilege, man, to have you on. Not even just to that, so much just to know you personally, man, and some of the things you're doing. We're looking to hear great things from you, man. I'm also want to have you on for part two, as I normally champion the part twos as well behind Charlene, because I want to hear some of that musical chops that you have, man. A lot of people, a lot of people don't know about that. We can hit you with some of that operetta going on, because I do like classical music as well. So it's a lot of layers to us people here on LinkedIn. It really is, and it's been dynamic to just find out about people as people. I know we need all of those other things. They are very important, paying bills, houses, mortgages, the whole nine. But it's someone up under there that really we need to get to know, and people will really appreciate once they find out. So I'm glad to have you on, man.
No, thank you both. Thank you both so much.
Yes. Charlene, gonna close us out.
I did. Bye, y'all.
Oh, wow. We got to work on the New York manners, Phil. We got to work on it, man. We got to work on it. She's like, bye, y'all.
See ya.
Deuces, y'all. We got to
go. Let me send my shots out. We thank everybody, Karen, Carl, Rob, Quentin. We thank all of you guys. Remember, go check this out. #replay. Drop in the comments. Let us know if you have any questions for Phil, where to find him, where to look him up. At his LinkedIn is down at the bottom. Go find this guy. He got a lot of good things for you. And also, if you want to be featured, I forgot about that part too. The link is in there. If you want to be featured, we're booked up now to like the middle of November. We're working on getting it in. So we're working on December for the rest of the year, and we're gonna revamp some things for January, because we got some panels coming out with some people with some exciting information. And we're just here for you guys. We got the website coming out too. We're working on that in the back end. Man, we got a lot of stuff coming. So RealTalk, we here to stay. We're here to stay. So we're looking for some great things to come out of 2022 for us and everybody on these platforms in these LinkedIn streets that we got
And if
here.
there's anything that you guys would like to see us do, please tell us. Drop them in the comments or hit us up in the DMs. We are more than happy to listen. We may not implement everything, but we'll listen.
We won't be like corporate. We won't just hear your stuff and then put in file 13. That's the HR thing, right? We're not gonna put in file 13. We're gonna make sure that we implement some things. But thanks everybody. Look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesday. Same channel will be here at 10 a.m. Real Talk with Carl and Charlene and our lovely guest today, Phil. We appreciate you, Phil. You guys have a blessed weekend, and we'll see you on the other side.
Bye.